they will be talking about at the virtual G7 summit. That's bringing Labour MP Shadow from Secretary Lisa Nandy, who joins me now. Needs to come out of the summit, would you say, Lisa Nandy? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I would say that
Morning all.
a make or break for
Morning, Steve.
many of those Afghans who supported us over the last 2 decades to win those hard-fought gains. The truth is that unless we extend the air bridge beyond the 31st of August next Tuesday, many of them will be left behind and face reprisals from the Taliban. And the G7 is a crucial body because
Kind of been
international
changing around my timetable a little bit.
limited leverage with the Taliban, so the US must be persuaded to support efforts to keep that air bridge open today, and a common approach to the Taliban.
Kids are all back to school, so we've got to get back to a bit of a... Well, they're almost all back to school. Let me just turn that radio down a bit.
Notwithstanding what you say about the importance of G7, and of course you're absolutely right, shouldn't NATO also be meeting on this, or indeed the United Nations, please?
Well, we've been pushing for all three to be convened for the Prime Minister to act with speed as a...
So I just figured that I should be around when the kids get up and go to school as well, when they come home, rather than the schedule that I was having before, which is to go to bed really late so that I could have kind of be in touch with the American audience. So we're doing it this way for a while, see how that works out. It's now 8:53 in the UK AM. We'll just see how it goes this way around. Starting the day with some Orlik, which I do most days.
Argued that the war in Afghanistan must come to an end and the US military presence must end. He said in his election manifesto that he wanted an end to forever wars. The UK's had 8
And I'm kind of making this my Orlik pipe because my regular Orlik pipe has disappeared. I don't know where it is. I haven't seen it now for a good week or so. I've obviously just put it down somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So I made this one not so long ago. A bent billiard.
The president is absolutely committed to continue down this path of military withdrawal, but he is also cognizant of the fact that the UK and the US has a long history of military engagement together, not just in Afghanistan, but all over the world. We've supported one another in operations for decades and decades, and that cooperation will need to continue, not with a military presence in Afghanistan, but it's certainly in terms of intelligence sharing and a common approach to the Taliban to prevent Afghanistan descending into a haven for terrorists and terrorist attacks against the West again. So the Prime Minister ought to have some leverage today, and it's disappointing to hear the Defence Secretary essentially admitting defeat before they've even met. We need the government to step up today and agree with President Biden that that support will be forthcoming. Currently touring the TV studios and doing what seems to be expectation management, trying to downplay any expectation of an agreement with President Biden. The Prime Minister spoke to President Biden last night about this and still says that he's committed to going to that meeting to try to push for an air bridge extension. What I'm trying to impress on the Prime Minister and on the government today is just how absolutely vital that is. Now people be in touch with hundreds of Afghans who are stranded, who can't get out in the next few days.
I don't see how Mr. Wallace is. The reality is that, unless you can tell me differently, as I did ask this, the mood music from Washington is that the president is not minded to extend. So how is that accepting defeat? Unless, of course, you're suggesting that the British military should maintain position there. Without
Absolutely not.
How is that admitting
security, the security situation in Afghanistan is incredibly difficult.
How is Mr. Wallace admitting defeat?
Well, I've been through the TV studios hours before the G7 has even met, saying that he believes it's extremely unlikely that the United States is going to agree. Actually, last week the US government had said that they would consider all options at the G7 meeting. You have allies like France and Germany, as well as the United Kingdom, who are all have an interest in go to that meeting today and try to convince President Biden that it's in his interest. We need a Prime Minister who goes to that meeting and moves heaven and earth to make sure that happens because lives depend on it.
Today, Biden isolated amid calls to extend the deadline. New York Times this morning, President is saying no to deadline extension. This isn't the government, this is just the reality. Joe Biden doesn't want to extend it. It's not admitting defeat, it's just looking at reality, Lisa Nandy.
Well, we shouldn't be in this reality to start with. They've had 18 months to plan.
Morning, Mark.
The Defence Select Committee moved the government that their scheme for Afghan interpreters.
How you doing?
But will you concede that they're not admitting defeat?
No, I won't actually. I think it's disappointing to hear the words of the Defence Secretary today. And what I'm from the government is a change of approach before 3:30 this afternoon.
And lastly, concerning the words of the Secretary of State for Defence, Ben Wallace, and I had to warn my listeners in advance that there's a very robust word coming, but I cannot discuss this with the Shadow Foreign Secretary without allowing her to hear the full dialogue. Lisa Nandy, I spoke with the
Hey, Claudio.
with Ben Wallace, and I put to him this recent tweet from Penn Farm.
Morning, Tim.
Of course, he's operating the animal charity.
So today,
He wrote the following: I've been left to fend for myself in Kabul. Cut off
this is I'm going for a bit of a freehand, asymmetric freehand shape. There's a slope on the plateau. I may not keep the plateau, but if I don't keep the slope, it's going to be a very shallow pipe.
Listen to Ben Wallace's response and then your reply.
Well, so that's bollocks, Nick. You know, I've been watching, listening to that. Penn was offered, contacted on Friday to be brought forward to fly. His wife left, I think, on Friday.
No work last night, in at 6 p.m.
We have said that he will be eligible.
Well, my kids have started to go back to school, so I'm kind of changing my schedule a little bit. And rather than starting my day later on and being up till God knows when, I'm starting the day at a relatively normal hour and going to bed at a more normal hour, and see how that all of that works. Shalom Smoking, how you doing? And Boker Tov.
Somebody who is currently in Afghanistan and is dealing with the situation on the ground. The Prime Minister promised in the House of Commons just recently that he would make sure.
Having my first bowl of the day, some Orlick Golden Sliced, as you do. Watering the garden. But the season is definitely changing. It was a bit colder last night in here, and it's relatively cool in here this morning. And it won't be long before I'll be complaining about how cold it is.
Earlier, also this month, Met Police Commissioner Dame President came in for Call the Commissioner, responding to a question about Extinction Rebellion from one of the listeners, Josh in Barnet.
I am, and I suspect I speak for many, many Londoners, very disappointed that Extinction Rebellion have announced that they're going to spend perhaps 2 weeks in London. I don't think London supports, I think people will be very interested in the cause. I don't think London supports hugely disruptive protest.
And of course they did disrupt. It wasn't a big boat, it was a giant pink table this time. We'll be asking why the police seem to be
You're doing it at 1 o'clock.
And it would seem a very low number of arrests
It's fine
also
now.
coming up in the hour.
Anyway,
It's the stuff that talk shows across the Americans.
what, in 3 hours' time? 4 hours' time?
Biden's fit for office.
What about it in 4 hours' time?
On your radio, on Global
But
and
LBC.
Politics Conversation. This is LBC. From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock, Britain's Defence Secretary says he's not hopeful that the US will extend the deadline for withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. Boris Johnson will urge Joe Biden to push back the date later to ensure more people can be evacuated from Kabul. But the Taliban says the 31st of August is a red line. Ben Wallace is doubtful.
it's an absolute farce what's going on there, isn't it, in Afghanistan? Crazy stuff. There just doesn't seem to be any joint up thinking going on.
And that's really hard. And then the next phase will be getting out the people, the military, the thousand personnel. Mr. Wallace said the UK has airlifted more than 2,000 people from the Afghan capital in the last 24 hours. The number of online grooming crimes recorded by police has risen sharply in the last 3 years. Figures obtained by the NSPCC from forces across England and Wales show a 69% increase since 2018.
It's pretty scary. Imagine being there and being stuck outside the airport trying to get
A
in.
serious collision on the M25 has left
It's
three
just
people dead. A fourth person is in hospital after the crash between a lorry,
Pretty
a
frightening.
minibus and a car near Waltham Abbey yesterday evening. 2 drivers have been arrested. Retail leaders have called on the UK government to follow Holyrood in extending new protections for shop workers. Those in Scotland will be better protected from today as a new law comes into force. It makes assaulting or abusing retail staff a standalone offence with tougher sentences for perpetrators. The opening ceremony for the Tokyo Paralympics takes place later. The games, which have been delayed by a year due to COVID, will be staged with
Right,
no
let's get this on the road.
Fabian Andre is a T34.
Incidentally, I've done a bit of remodeling here in the workshop.
And she's only been in the sport
I'll give you a very quick
I'm coming
tour.
out here with no expectations whatsoever. I just want to go out and enjoy it and soak up everything, enjoy the experience and just know what it feels like.
So this is still my main sort of work area for final shaping, you know, sanding, staining, and basically finishing off pipes. You've got my pipe stand, my screen, my stains, my tobaccos, all my files. I've moved my bandsaw over here. I had constructed a whole big sort of contraption here to hold the extractor, but it was really making the room very small. So I put it back to where it was in the corner. But instead I moved my sanding station over there. I've re-rigged everything up over there, and I think that'll be a lot better. It keeps the sand away as well from this sort of area where I do the staining. So that's still my buffing station. There's all my chucks up there, and this is still my lathe. My tools over there.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. Good morning, it's 4 minutes after 9 on Tuesday, August 3rd. Coming up in this hour, we will return to domestic travel and that demonstration taking place across parts of London with Extinction Rebellion. And remind you of the words from the boss of the Met Police, Commissioner Dame Cressida Dick, when she spoke with me and of course spoke to you early in the month. Also in this hour, why the tiger who came to tea, which I read that to my children, but I think many years ago, quickly, this is a very serious story, could lead to rape and sexual harassment. I'll have more details on that. And as we mentioned a couple of times, it is the stuff now in newspaper and magazine articles in the US and discussions on the radio and the TV, noting that President Biden, with a lot of pressure on him at the moment and the man's age, and even the suggestion that his wife shouldn't let him run for office, I'll be asking, is he fit for office? Part of our conversation with the Metropolitan Police Commissioner Dame Cressida Dick when she was in for LBC, all the commissioners earlier this month. The initial question was from Josh in Barnet.
So firstly,
Yeah, I would agree with that, Tim. But it just seems to me that they could have done it in a more staggered way, rather than it being such a huge cluster fornication, for want of a better word. It seems to me that they could have been doing this already for a while, rather than it becoming an immediate requirement. You know, rather than it becoming an emergency situation, they should have been evacuating people for a while now. And then, as they get closer to the final date, they would just be closing down the embassy and evacuating. But it seems like as soon as the deal, they only made it public once it became public, and it's become an immediate emergency where everybody's trying to get out at the same time, rather than evacuate people slowly before it becomes a major catastrophe. you know, not 2 weeks before the deadline. You know, they could have been doing this for the last few months, you know, slowly taking people out, gathering, you know, information on how many people are there. They keep saying now that they don't know because people register, they don't register. It should have been a more long-term operation. They knew they were going to be sort of getting out of Afghanistan. It should have just been a more structured, organized departure. The way it's happened now, besides for the absolute mad rush to get out and the pandemonium that's going on there, it's also given more strength and emboldened the Taliban, because now the Taliban are viewed as having ridden roughshod over the United States and have literally taken over the country almost without taking a shot. And that's going to put them in a very, very strong position with the people there. We're going to not feel very strong to be able to resist and stand up to the Taliban. So, but you know, a lot of people are saying, well, who knows, you know, the Taliban are of that place, you know, they're part of that culture, and they've always been infighting in that country for centuries. There's been a lot of tribal warfare there for control into that kind of country. So who knows what you'd have there if not for the Taliban. Doesn't seem like they were ready for democracy, because as soon as the Allies, for want of a better word, pulled out, it's all fallen apart. So it certainly seems like the tribal instinct is intrinsic and it's still innate in that country. Ciao Sandro, amico mio. Yeah, I'm kind of changing my timetable at the moment. I was saying earlier on, my kids are all starting school again, and I just decided to go to a more normal timetable. We'll see how that goes. Going back to last night, Poppington, can you advise on New World Daily Smoke Cigars? Keeping so expensive now. If you're talking about buying in the UK, let's have a look. GQ, my smoking shop, most of them have got very, very nice selections of New World cigars these days, but GQ certainly has been boosting their New World cigar stocks big time. Let's have a look. So if you're talking about economic, you know, not breaking the bank, are you going with Mummy to Brent Cross? Tesco?
Need to test you first.
Fine. Okay. My wallet is in my trousers, in my bed. There's a tenner in there.
Do you want anything?
Cupcake. Where are you going to?
Wherever.
Yeah, it's a bit, whichever one. That bigger one has
Bigger one. What cupcake?
the white one. Thank you. New World, okay. James, how you doing? All right, let's take you over to the website here. Okay, so well, like I suggested yesterday, the first one that I would suggest is before you start going mad online, is get a few singles and see what you like. If you're new to cigars, I wouldn't go out buying boxes of cigars, because you might find that as your palate refines and your palate gets used to different subtleties in a cigar, and the different flavor levels, you might find that you don't like something. So I would just, buy singles online, here in the UK first. So what I would suggest is, like I suggested to you yesterday, is Undercrown Shade. The Undercrown Shade is the one with the white band, and it's just a light, easygoing cigar, but it's got good flavors. It's not junk. I wouldn't get the Coronet, which is a tiny little thing. I would get. This is a very nice. Okay, it's not the cheapest in the world. It's the Bellicoso. Let me see if they've got us something slightly different. Anyway, I would suggest that you go for something like the Undercrown Shade to try. Where's Corum? Corum is a good one to go with as well. There you go. Corum is a pretty economic cigar. You've got a short Robusto there for $5.99. You've got a Corona for $6.15, which is probably a Moreva. It's probably a 5x42. Let's have a look. 5.5 by 43. So that's a very nice size to get going with. I would get the Shade version initially, because they've got a Shade, they've got a Classic. I would get the Shade. The Shade Petit Corona is $4.15. It's cheap. Short Robusto is $5.99 if you prefer a wider ring gauge. But they're actually a pretty good cigar. The Corum is good value. I would try a couple of those. The truth is, there's just so many. I mean, I haven't tried the vast majority of these. He's got such a long list nowadays. He really has. Giuliani, I remember I used to smoke those quite a while ago. I don't recall how strong they are, though. I mean, other people might be able to give you better advice. I can only give you based on what I've already smoked. Tim's had a pretty good selection over the years. Tim would be a good place to get some advice from. Room 101, I've had some nice ones of those. Of the Olivas, for instance. Oliva's a great brand. I just don't know which ones are mild, easygoing starter cigars. Hoya de Nicaragua, that one's a nice cigar. I think that's relatively cheap. Okay, not so much. I smoked a bunch of these early on. I can't find the regular one. Here we go. Oh, not so cheap. $14.99. Well, that's a nice cigar. Mark, the thing I would say is, like I said to you, is you've got to experiment. Read the descriptions. Go on to GQ Tobaccos, read the descriptions, and just get yourself a handful of mild, the ones which they describe as mild. The ones that I can tell you about straight away are the ones that I've mentioned, like Undercrown Shade and that kind of thing. I tell you what, James, last night I started, well, not last night, yesterday morning, I started one of these Atabey cigars that you sent me. First of all, they taste beautiful. They've got a very nice flavor. And I can see why people might say that they've got a bit of a Cuban flavor to them. But these cigars that you sent me, they're huge. I spent most of the day smoking this cigar on and off, and I've still got, you know, a fair amount left. And this is the smallest one out of the 3 that you sent me. So that's crazy. All right, that's this has got some beautiful grain on this side, and not as nice on the other side, but very, very nice grain on this side. I haven't decided yet on a stem. So James sent me 3 of them. Definitely bang for your buck. So the one I had was the smallest one. This one is the next one. And tell you what, when you hold this cigar, you feel like Al Capone. It's just got a great feel in the hands, really has. So this is a 56 ring gauge, 6 3/4 inches. 25th anniversary. I'll have to look this one up. And this one is 58 ring gauge by 7 inches. This is one heck of a monster. This will last me 2 or 3 days easily. And I'll tell you what, they got quite a bit of a nicotine hit as well. They're not the mildest cigars in the world, but they do have a really nice flavor, very balanced flavor. And it's just the profile that I like in non-Cubans. There is a certain Cuban-esque flavor to it. They're not exactly like Cubans, but they've got a very good flavor, very well balanced. It's got a bit of a vegetal kind of herby flavor to it, but they're not too peppery. They're not too typical American style cigars. And the nicotine does creep up on you. When you smoke it, it's quite mild. It's not the fullest sort of flavor in your mouth. It doesn't whack you across the face. But the nicotine creeps up on you without you realizing it. Yesterday, a couple of times, I had to set it down because I could feel it. I was gonna get a nick hit from it, and I don't enjoy getting a nick hit. And I'm also fairly tolerant because, you know, obviously I've been smoking pipes and cigars for a good few years now, and cigars generally don't bother me. But that one, after a while, it did hit me. So I'm just looking through some of my stem material. By the way, James, we need to get in touch with each other about your block and what you want from it. I had eaten, but I hadn't literally just had a heavy meal right there and then. But I had, you know, I'd had breakfast, and I don't remember what I did for lunch. I've got to sort out these. I've got stuff here which I've completely forgotten about. This is the grade 2 stuff of the stuff that you sent me. Yeah, no worries, James. The problem with this Eldritch stuff is that you just don't know, because it's the green one I know goes down well. I've made one pipe using this one, and it hasn't sold yet. Yeah, I've had it for so long, that pipe. I mean, it's not even on the website anymore. Got some of this Dracula type stuff, but I hate turning acrylic. I hate it. My favourite stem material to work with is ebonite. Eldritch is very nice as well, but I prefer ebonite. Eldritch is the easiest thing in the world to sand when you're doing it on a shaping wheel, but when you're fine sanding and trying to get into a very high sheen, it's a lot of work. And the truth is, so is ebonite. It's quite similar to ebonite actually. How you done? I had a long chat with Izzy yesterday, and I asked him if he knew you. He said he did, and he said you're a lovely guy. This is the pipe that I made with the pink Eldritch. So it's not a stem, but a shank insert. And one day, whoever does get this pipe, what I can say is it would be a fantastic smoking pipe. The bowl is drilled beautifully. Nice thick walls. I have to probably give it a good buff now because it's been lying around. I don't know, maybe I should just smoke it myself. A nice looking pipe, sort of apple-y kind of shape. And I haven't actually put it up. It hasn't been on my website or anything, I don't think. So it's just been languishing in a drawer. The weight of it, I haven't got it scaled here, but I would say somewhere between 55 and 65 grams, something like that. Maybe a drop more. Not sure. But being bent as well, it'll be, more clenchable that way. Pretty. I made a similar stem to this for Steph when they ordered their Prince pipe. Yeah, I'll have to clean it up. I'll have to get it on the website. I haven't put it on the website, so maybe it'll sell if it goes on there. Interesting material. This one, like a coffee bean type thing. Hijack. Hey Jack, not hijack. also very pretty. The problem that I have with turning acrylic is I find that it shatters. You know, big lumps of it comes off when you're turning it sometimes, and you have to turn it really, really slowly, which I find to be a bit of a pain in the posterior. Should I do one of these? What do you reckon? Think there'll be a market for that? I've got a very pearlescent, multicolour. It's almost unlimited, the acrylic rods out there. But the thing is that it's not classic. You can sell, you know, the pipes will sell, but this is also a very nice ebonite. It's like a multicoloured ebonite. I haven't got much of it left. Excuse me. Any tips on shaping ebonite files in rough sand? Yeah, you have to sand it a lot. You just got to have patience, and it just takes practice. So all it is practice, practice, practice. There isn't really much advice you can give other than just practice. This one is interesting as well. This reminds me of a bit of seaside candy rock. Seaside rock. They have such nice end patterns, the end of the rods, but you don't get to see those because it's always in the cut in lengths rather than. But how it comes out when you sort of start shaping into it, and you're cutting into that pattern, that can be very interesting. Well, I just cut into the end of it just to see what it would look like. So that's, you know, that one there. But when you cut into it, you get that effect. Which is like some of the ebonites that I've been using. They're just multicolored. It sounds very well, I'd say that. It sounds very easily. I just don't think it fits that particular pipe. gonna go green black again. I've been doing green quite a bit recently. I've got the yellow black, which is very, very nice. I've been doing that. It's interesting. It's like an orange black. Yeah, I'll do an orange black. Well, that's very brave, Jack. You know, watching some of the other new pipe makers making hand-cut stems is really what's pushed me to sort of to do hand-cut stems myself. I mean, I was doing them every so often, but not on a regular basis. And seeing people like Andrew Sirigliano brave it out and go straight into making hand-cut stems, I figured that it's about time I did that too. I was very happy with the preformed stems that I was making because I always made sure that they sort of balanced very well with the pipe. And I used to cut those to shape as well. I used to shape those as well, but but I've been enjoying doing the hand cut stems. It is a chore, but I have been enjoying it, and I've been kind of, excuse the pun, carving out my own kind of style. This kind of half saddle that I've been doing, and I really like that. And it's kind of, I think that's going to be like a signature style that I'm going to use on hand cut stems. Yeah, Mark, I'd be more than happy to do that. Just get in touch with me when you're ready. Today I'm making a freehand style asymmetric pipe. You can see the grain there. It's got very nice grain on that side. So I want to make the most of that. Well, look, if you can develop your skill in making hand cut stems, then for sure. I think pre-cut stems have got their place. I still think that they smoke absolutely perfectly, and in some cases better than hand cut stems. I think that if you get decent quality ones, they're made very, very well. They're made out of good quality acrylic. The mouth piece is very comfortable. The bit is comfortable, and you can make them even more comfortable. You can drill them out. You can slot them. You can do whatever you want. But all it's doing is it's saving you the time of the drilling and the basic shaping from the raw rod. It saves you a bit of time, and you got a more precise shape to start with. Other than that, I don't think there's any difference personally. Now that I've got quite a number of hand cut stems under my belt, I can honestly say that a good quality preformed stem is absolutely fantastic, and do not in any way think that you're getting any kind of diminished pipe by getting a preformed stem. I can tell you that categorically. I made this pipe for myself. I put a pre-cut stem on it, mainly because it was for myself and I wanted to save time. But in terms of smokability, no difference at all, in my opinion. Obviously not from stock. You have to work on it. I say you've got to still slot it out. You've got to widen the draft hole a bit, make it comfortable, make the bit comfortable. But once you've done all those kind of amendments, no difference at all. No, it's not a commission. I really honestly believe that. And the only reason why I'm doing almost every pipe now with a hand cut stem, is simply because I prefer the material that I've got. Once I started using the ebonite and the eldritch, and I started feeling more comfortable making stems, they're just prettier. I mean, this that it's just gorgeous. It's a beautiful stem, and compared to the pre-cut ones, you can't get anything like that in preformed stems. Plenty of colours and options, but not like that. Oh, nice, James. You haven't seen one stem that you love yet. Well, I've been giving a bit of thought to that whole discussion that we had about the white stems and the translucence of it and the brown vein that might run through it. And this material, I think, is actually a little bit more opaque than others. I can't say that you won't get any kind of stain, but it might be worth a try. No harm in doing it. Eldritch material is softer, I would say, than ebonite. And the makeup is very interesting as well. It's made up of stuff which has a lower heat tolerance in terms of when you're bending it and when you're turning it. Even when you're sanding it on the lathe, you have to be careful because the friction from the sanding can heat it up to a point where it starts to wobble, it starts to get soft. So it is a very soft material. It's very comfortable to smoke. It's easy to work with in terms of, it's pliable. It's more rubbery in that it has a stronger memory than ebonite. So if you've got a bent eldritch stem and you warm it up, you want to just tweak the bend on it, you have to be careful because it will just spring back to its original position because it has a memory. It's a more modern version of ebonite, if you like. It's a more modern, using more modern acrylics or epoxy or whatever it is he uses. It's a very interesting, it's almost foamy. It's like a solidified foam. When you drill it, the bits that come out when you drill it, they're literally like almost like wet sand. It's very interesting. But the main advantage of eldritch is that you get the comfort of ebonite, or even more comfort than ebonite, and it doesn't oxidize. That's really where it's at. It does not oxidize. It behaves like acrylic with the comfort of ebonite, and probably even more comfortable than ebonite. So there's a lot going for it. It is a nice material. And he obviously also produces some really nice stems. He's increasing his range of stems. I should be getting today a delivery of, I ordered some custom, well, I don't know if it's custom, but the colors which I asked him for, I sent him a color code which I got from a customer who was ordering a pipe and wanted a particular shade of blue. So it may not be custom, but he said he showed me a picture of blue that he could do, and I said fine, go for it. I ordered also one each of the metallic range he's just released, the gold and the bronze. So I've ordered one of each just to try them and see which ones I would like, maybe order more of them. All right, Tim, have a good one. New glasses, nice. We'll be seeing you. That's all right, Mark. No worries, seriously. I'm not big into alcohol, to be honest. I can't drink any wine from the supermarket because it has to be kosher, and I don't drink whiskey that much. Every so often I'll have a little dram here or there, but I'm not a big whiskey buff. But seriously, Mark, no need. Your support, your friendship, your business is appreciated very, very much, and that's more than enough. All right, let's get this day started. Thinking maybe to do a little bit of a church warden, kind of a mini church warden possibly. This little vacuum that I've got on, I've put it on the table now, this box here, it's fantastic. I used to have it on the floor, but it was always getting in the way. And the reason why I put the extractor back in the corner was because I just don't have enough room and it was really in my way. So this is the extractor, and I've got it hooked up to the bandsaw. The clever thing on this one is that you plug the bandsaw power into this box like that, and basically you just turn on the bandsaw and it automatically turns the vacuum cleaner on and off as you need it, so you don't have to keep switching two machines on the whole time, which is really cool. I'm very happy with that. I was thinking even of just buying one each for each of the machines, which the only one which I'm not sure if it's going to be big enough is for the sander, but for the disc sander and those kind of things it will be absolutely fine. So what do we think? Should we do a church warden? Give it a try. Still with us, Steve. Good man. Right, let's go over to the lathe. Let's try from a different angle. See how that works for you. Let me know if this works okay or if you want to go back to overhead. I've been using this these air dusters a lot. So I ordered another bunch of them. This one's almost finished. Went through it in a day or two. I don't have an air compressor now. If I had an air compressor, that would be a lot easier. I guess one day when I decide to go for a sandblaster, then I will get an air compressor. It's probably a good thing to have in any event. You know, even like to have one and then slowly build an a sandblasting setup. But sandblasting, really, the capacity of the compressor is what's key. And tailstock has got such a long throw, it takes forever to wind it back in. Right, I'm actually going to leave it a little bit short so that I've got a longer bit that I need to slot. So there's a longer slot on this one. So because of the length of the thing, I think it makes more sense to have a longer slot so that gives a nice smooth path to the smoke. basically the price I pay for not having a metal lathe. Morning, Clayton. Top of the morning to you too, old boy. The only book that I'm aware of is that's generally still in print is Pimo's Guide, which you get on Vermont Freehand's website. But yeah, YouTube videos is going to be the best way, without a doubt. But sometimes the basics you need in an instruction format. Sometimes just the very basic stuff. When I'm ready at it and making a pipe, you know, some of the basics I'm just doing automatically and not even thinking about. Whereas for you, you might want to actually see it in writing. So I mean, I've not actually seen that publication, but it's for $20, $25. Might be worth your while. On Vermont Freehand's website, there's a guide called Pimo's Guide for Pipe Making, something like that. And he basically gives you the basics of making a pipe at home with basic hand tools. Right, Bubba? Is that better? I get an extra smooch from you tonight, right? Although I'm not sure how long I'm going to be on with you tonight because my timetable is very different at the moment. James. It's not about that. I was up this morning in here by 9 o'clock, before 9 o'clock. So there's a limit to how long I can stay up. You're on at 12, so I'll be on for a while. I just won't be able to stay on the whole time. If that ain't good enough, tough. hell is wrong with this stupid thing? That's where we're at the moment. So I've given it a 22mm bowl because it's so shallow. So I've given it a wider bowl so that you can get a reasonable amount of tobacco in there. Now my sanding station is now at the other end of the workbench, so we're going to move down there in a sec. So this is where we're at so far. Long way to go. Just give you an idea of what we're looking at the moment, what we're looking like. So you can see there's some really nice markings on the stem when the camera decides to focus. There you go. Hello. Okay, I'm on video. In the kitchen. She's in the kitchen. Alright. Popping over to this at some point. How are you?
Blueberry muffin.
Lovely, jubbly. Yum.
Milkshake. It's really good.
Is that changed from a tenner?
Yeah.
Gordon Bennett.
I got Ellie as well.
Okay. Thank you. Yum.
They've got the cream one. Nice. I wasn't sure to get you a blueberry muffin or a chocolate chip one, or almost a blueberry one.
Yum.
Is it not like cream?
Of course. My pleasure.
What?
My pleasure. That's very good.
Thank you.
Was that a plain vanilla one?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much.
What
That was
number
very
now?
nice. In how long are you going?
I'm going at 10 to 1.
Okie dokie. Bye bye. wasn't sure if I'd be able to get that half saddle effect on it, but it actually worked out pretty nice. Doing over a long sort of, it's just a lot of shaping and sanding to get it looking smooth, to looking sort of consistent all the way with a nice taper. Hey Paul, how's the bug? I assume that's where you're sat at the moment with a numb backside. Yeah. Can't be sitting in the throne room every day, can you? Still have to finish shaping the button. That gives you some idea. It's shaping up nicely. Right, I'm going to give this a quick blast on the mop and be back in a minute or two. So that's just a little bit of buffing. You can see what the grain's going to look like, and you can see what the stem is going to look like roughly, black and orange. Struggling to focus. There we go. So that's just the first pass with the buff. There's still lots of sanding to do.